Close the gap between you and God. What does that mean? It's all about identity. It's all about loving and accepting yourself. What if exactly right now, as you are, you were able to radically love and accept yourself, just like God would, and recognize that the will is happening. Surrender to the flow of the awakening happening through you. Loving and accepting yourself first and foremost, and then shifting your identity from being a person to being God. Much of this channel, as there has been a very clear ascent into metaphysical truth, finding this meta pattern, is now about simplifying spirituality to help those that are seeking to heal their confusion and to understand their true nature. So let's break this down into two parts. First is the radical love and accepting of yourself. And the second part is shifting your identity from personhood to the very source of creation itself. All being one intelligence at play with itself. God at play with itself. The two are ultimately one, but we're going to separate them just for those that are especially experiencing suffering right now, or especially experiencing not really knowing or loving or accepting themselves. Or even if you have experienced that and you haven't yet popped into the very subtle awareness of beingness itself, or popped into being the very source of creation itself. So you have to know, love, and accept yourself as you are right now. You secreted from this planet. You came with an intention and a purpose. That very secretion can be thought of as any one of these incredible fractal-like expressions of the planet. You are that massive sequoia or redwood tree. We love our California, so we will use that as an example. When you put a noisy mind on top of the redwood or the sequoia tree that is constantly suffering and constantly toiling around in thoughts of the past or thoughts of the future, that's where all the suffering happens. The radical loving and accepting yourself exactly as you are is just being right here in this moment and just training your mind, like the Buddha taught and so many other mystic traditions, to just stop being noisy. Use the breath as your tool to calm down the noisy mind from the past and from the future, where all of the anxiety and the depression happen, and just be present right now and tap in using your breath into I am. Just simply awake. I am aware. I am conscious. I exist. Might that in fact be God? The very fact that I exist, might that be God? And how could I be so arrogant to not see myself in that same loving way that God sees me? How could I be so arrogant to be polluting my existence with my noisy mind in the past and in the future? How could I be so arrogant to not be the very loving presence that God sees me? Okay, so now you can tell that the strategy that we use to know, love, and accept yourself, which this is a main component of the teaching of Ra in the Law of One, and Bentinho Massaro has done a great job distilling this as well. And currently Mark as well in the Accept Yourself 2.0 program is doing a really good job at this radical self-acceptance teaching. Take this know, love, and accept yourself paradigm. Use the breath to still the noisy mind and treat those like clouds that arise and pass inside of the sky. And the sky is the fact that you exist. The sky is your awareness. The sky is your very beingness, your very I amness. And the thought clouds arise and pass, some in the past, some in the future. But drop all of those. Drop them by using your breath to still your mind. Drop those. And over time, you'll get better and better at not getting lured out by those. Just like you'll no longer get lured out by the intoxicative Maya, where you're trying to seek peace and happiness in substances and experiences and relationships and material possessions, but instead, just like in the parable of the prodigal son, you'll hit a breaking point, usually catalyzed by suffering, and you'll get whapped hard enough to have that catalyze your turn inward, and in that process, you'll become aware of your very existence, that the very awareness, the very beingness, the very I amness itself is already God. It is already peace. It is already joy. Sat Chidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Tat Tvam Asi, you are that. I and my Father are one. John 10:30. The kingdom of God is within you. Luke 17:21. All of what you were trying to seek externally is already here in a diamond around your neck, as Rumi said. So, by loving, accepting, knowing yourself deeply, repeatedly, I know, love, and accept myself. I know, love, and accept myself. And just using the breath to relax into the very knowing, loving, and accepting yourself repeatedly can close the gap between you and God. You are perpetuating your own suffering through your own distortions about peace and happiness externally, about not already being enough. I will only be peaceful and happy when I get this or that. About when someone validates me. You see, those distortions, those lack beliefs, are exactly what separates you from God. It's what creates the argument with God. So this very gap, or this very delta, this very difference, is simply you loving and accepting yourself truly. And knowing yourself by watching all of your frames, becoming a better witness, a better observer to the play that's unfolding. And as you do so, you'll be able to more easily decipher between when that thought cloud appears about anxiety with the future, and instead what you do is you breathe through it. I'm not that anxiety cloud about the future. I'm not that. I'm this presence, I'm this awareness, I'm this beingness. And then all of a sudden the thought cloud disappears and you're like, okay, I'm back to just awareness and beingness. And you get better and better at that. And that's basically relaxing into the love of God that you already are. So you close this illusory gap and you commune, you unite with what you already are, which is God's love light. And now the second part is the shift in identity. So as you know, love, and accept yourself, you'll also need to shift your identity. Shift your identity from being a person, a separate, finite, physical entity with a bunch of separate, finite, physical entities on a finite, physical planet that has no meaning, randomly orbiting a star. Shift your identity from personhood to God. Shift your identity from separate personhood engaging with other separate persons to God. Because when you do that, what happens is you recognize that I am God and we all are God. And when you do that, everything you do after that becomes you realizing that it's God interacting with itself. You go back to the very source of creation itself and see that you are the source that made creation, and it's all God playing with itself. So now every time you engage with another person, you see that it's God playing with itself. Every time that there's some sort of a catalyst of suffering, it's just reminding you to close the gap between the illusory separation and the intoxication of Maya and your person identity, to re-identify yourself as God, to reunite as God. Every catalyst is just trying to fix the distortion. And the more that you turn around, the more that you unfreeze your will and choice from the algorithms and the scripts that we've perpetuated with our conditioning, and rather we sovereignly turn inward and unite with this very force of creation, re-identify yourself with the very force of creation itself. I am the force of creation. I am source expressing itself as God playing with itself. That's all you need to do. You will no longer see separate people. You will see everything as God playing with itself. You will see everything as a divine exploration. You will see this entire universe as an appearance of infinity. It's that simple. Radically know, love, and accept yourself. Again, radically know, love, and accept yourself. And relax the contracted identity from the person to God, to the very source of creation itself. If you do those two things, radically know, love, and accept yourself, see yourself as God sees you with that same love, have the same love for yourself that God has for you, because you are that. There is no gap. It's an illusion. But it's up to you to disassociate yourself from the contracted energy of personhood towards being God, towards recognizing yourself as God, as source, as the one infinite creator expressing itself in this creation. So again, the two things: know, love, and accept yourself radically, truly, unconditionally. And the second thing, shift your identity from being a person to being God, to being the very source of creation itself. And see, everywhere you look is all God playing with itself. Everywhere is that. And that is the eradication of malevolence. That is the eradication of suffering. You will no longer inflict malevolence, because you will truly know yourself. You will truly be a Gnostic being. You will know yourself as source, as the one infinite creator expressing itself, and you will see the one infinite creator, source, God, everywhere you look, playing with itself. You'll come from there rather than coming from your person conditioning. You will come from God. You will come from a pure place of serving your own creation. That's as simple as we can get spirituality. Know, love, and accept yourself, and identify yourself as God, as source, not as the person. So shift your identity to source, to God at play with itself, and radically know, love, and accept this beautiful individuated spark of infinity that you are. You have a unique gift. You have a unique firework, a unique individuated contribution to this civilization, to this creationary exploration. But the noisy mind toiling you around in the past and the future and experiencing suffering, that process is holding back this beautiful creative spark of the infinite that the whole civilization is pumped to experience, especially your family, your friends, your community, those closest to you. In order to bring that forth, to shine that, to actualize that, quiet down the mind through the breath. Recognize that you're not those thought clouds that are appearing in the past and the future, creating suffering, anxiety, depression. And as you quiet your mind down repeatedly over time, you'll recognize that you're actually the sky of awareness, of being, of I am, of I exist, of God. You are the sky of God that is omnipresent, that was distracted and distorted by the thought clouds, but that has regained its sovereignty, its will, its choice, its ability to recognize that this is its own perfect creation. The knowing, the loving, the accepting of the diamond that's already around each of our necks, to really enable that individuated firework to express from a place of pure service to the creation. Infinite love and adoration close the illusory gap between you and God by recognizing that you are not a person. You are God interacting with itself. You are the very source of creation. This is a cameo, an appearance of infinity that you created. And when you radically know, love, and accept yourself, you can properly firework outward in pure service to your own creation. Thank you. I hope this brought you value. I hope that these simplifications of spirituality will resonate and will heal the confused seeking impulses. And I'm very grateful to be in a position of having seeked my ass off to find metaphysical truth and then be able to distill it down for people in a very relatable way. And that is currently the way that the Creator is asking me to express myself. And so I am now going to be focusing on expressing myself that way. And I love you so much because I am you. We are the same one intelligence at play with itself. And we are just trying to serve that one intelligence at play with itself in its own awakening. And so if the video brought you value, like it, it helps the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a comment below with where you're at in the process, and I'll aim to get down there and reply. You can join the Sim Club, and we have an exclusive chat where I jump in and help people on their journeys more frequently. And share the video with people that you feel like this would resonate with and bring value to. That's all. Infinite love. Remember, radically know, love, and accept yourself, and shift your identity from personhood to the very source, God, at play with itself.